Do not roll the dice on property investing. Make sure that you understand what you're doing, because this is a huge game, and if you do get things wrong, you'd be on the wrong side of property investing.
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Nongwalk. My name is Neo.
And my name is Lebo.
Today we have a guest. We reached out to her, Sister Cacisa. She'll actually let you know more about herself. And today is going to be an interesting topic, because I know most of the time when you're thinking about property investing, you're thinking about your good areas, you're thinking about your apartments with gated areas. However, nobody's really paying attention towards the township. So that is where we're taking today's conversation.
Sister Cacisa, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Great, thanks. So I want to actually start off by reading the tweet that you actually posted, right? So you're like, yes, I'm going to start exactly where it started. Good morning, fam. I stumbled upon this tweet. Is Township the new hotspot for property investors? Maybe it is. I've started investing in my township, bought a few properties. My reasons for investing. So point number one is that you spoke about property being reasonably cheap. So what is your take based on that question?
Okay, let me start by saying, guys, thank you so much for inviting me to your space, to your platform. It's such an honor to be interviewed by you guys and talking about an exciting topic, which is township investment. So yeah, when I wrote that post, I don't know what I was feeling, but I think I was in a moment where I felt that I think we need to start dialogues of talking about township development, township investment. It's one sector that we've been actually neglecting and more focusing on the suburbs due to the fact that most maybe banks, they don't finance properties in the township, or issue of security and people being scared to invest in those areas. But I see now that there's been a shift in the property market. People are starting to think of grabbing opportunities of investing into the township. So reason being is one of them is that property in those areas are reasonably affordable as compared to buying properties in the suburbs. I mean, you can be able to find a 2-bedroom freestanding house for $500,000, whereas in the suburban area it's just an apartment. So yeah, it is in that sense to say that the market prices or asking prices are reasonably cheaper as compared in the suburban areas.
Sister Cacisa, you know what, right? I just want to put a microscope to something that you said, because I know a lot of people might miss this because they're not understanding the context of what you said. I remember we came through, we had an event, we had a workshop, a property workshop in Cape Town, and then we are coming from Johannesburg, right? So when we're looking at the nice areas in Johannesburg, we're looking at your mid-rand four-ways, and we're like, guys, you know what? A 1-bedroom apartment in mid-rand four-ways, we're looking at something like spending about 850,000, right? So you spoke about Township being 500,000, right, in Cape Town. Please put a number to a 1-bedroom apartment roundabout if we are looking in Cape Town in your suburbs.
Especially looking at Sea Point to be exact.
Sea Point, of course. I mean, buying in Sea Point, you need to be rich, yeah? You need to have money, you need to have inherited something good from your grandparents, you know. Property there for a 1-bedroom apartment, it's around 3 million a bachelor. You can get it, especially if it's along the beach. So you must be prepared to pay anything not less than 3 million. And for investors investing in that area such as Sea Point, you're not looking for any rental yields. What you're looking for is capital growth, because you won't be able to I believe you won't be able to make any profit, because when you rent out a property that they have bought for 5 million and it's a bachelor, you can't rent it out for 500, let's say for 50,000, you know, because it's properties there for 1-bedroom, they range around 10,000, 13,000. So, you know, you see now that there's going to be that shortfall, even if you've invested there.
No, we actually went home and we ran our numbers, and then we understood why the people were actually laughing at us, because we knew that, man, And in Joburg, a good area, you'd spend about 800 to 850. And then only in Cape Town, you find that 850, they're like, no, man, you really need to have a look at that number.
So I think this is something. This is something.
Yeah, because I mean I've traveled to Joburg. My siblings they're in Joburg, and the area they live is quite a nice, beautiful areas. But the price they've bought for their properties, I'm like, yo, for that price in Cape Town, you'll be looking at like a normal suburb. You're looking like a normal suburb, but there it's a very beautiful suburb. It's got a nice area. It's a nice area with beautiful parks. It's beautiful. It's upmarket area. But in Cape Town, for the price of properties in that area compared to Cape Town, I mean, it's just a normal area. So, if you bought a property, let's say in Pretoria for 3 million, here in Cape Town, we're looking for areas like Goodwood, like Parklands and stuff. So, but the upmarket area, you need to have this.
Of course. So when we're looking at investing in property, right, the main thing that pushes us to invest in a particular property is basically the business side of it, right? So if I'm looking at investing in a property, I'm not looking at is the area nice. I mean, it does actually contribute because you don't want to find yourself in a situation whereby you're investing in an area whereby a lot of people don't really purchase properties there. But location, I mean, as much as it is important, but we can't say that I want an A-class location, whereas I'll give you a situation whereby someone is saying that they're getting 10,000 from a township, from these multiple, from multi-let, as compared to someone that's saying that they own a one-bedroom in Cape Town Sea Point, but now the problem is that they need to actually take out money on a monthly basis. So I want to know from you that what attracted you to the township market? Because I know that with most of people that are even watching this video, they are more reluctant to actually go into property investing in a township. So what attracted you towards the township market?
For me, I think it's that same reason you just mentioned that in a suburb area for 800,000 you'll get just an apartment, but in a township for 800,000 you can actually get 4 properties, and freestanding, because there are RDP houses that you can buy, and within the legal route of appointing attorneys and all of that to do the transfers. So for me, it was in a sense of, okay, if I can qualify for 800,000 from the bank, and looking at the township area, I can actually get 3 properties out of that. So which is more favorable for me, which is more profitable for me in the long term. I look, okay, I'd rather invest in the township, because also in the township I believe that I will not struggle to get tenants, because people now are starting to move into the township area. And secondly, rates and taxes are reasonably low as compared to the suburban areas. And as well, and as well as the bond, for me, I believe that, okay, if I can have 4 properties out of this 800,000, I can be getting a profit of 2,000 each. So that for me, it will put me in a position of saying, okay, now I do have a good rental yield coming from my investment, as opposed to investing in a one property in a nice area in the suburb, where I can still, at the end of the day, having a shortfall of say 2,000 and after I've paid all expenses and the bond. So yeah, you need to compare apples to apples, and check what makes financial sense for you, and looking also at your budget. And also I must mention that obviously there are risks involved investing into the township. Safety and security is one of them. I think maybe we're going to touch on that as well.
Okay, okay.
So, Sister Cacisa, like, I really want to understand that if someone is actually looking into investing in Township right now and is like, what's that one thing that I actually should be looking out for before I actually put my money into this property? What would be that thing that you'd say that, like, guys, you know what, as much as I am an advocate for Township investing, but just watch out for that one thing, because if you get this one wrong, hey, you'd have a big problem, man.
One of the things that you need to watch out for, properties that have multiple units at the back, do they have approved plans? I think one of the challenges that you find in township properties that people have multiple units in their properties, but the issue is the building plans. And if you're going to go through the route of the home loan, banks, once there's an extension in the property, they will want to for the owner to provide those approved plans. So most of the properties in the township, they don't have approved plans, but there are some that they have approved plans. So that's the one thing. That's the one thing that you need to watch out for. And as well, situations where you get a property and it's a cash buy, and you need to do your proper research, because sometimes you find out it's a cash buy and the person is desperate for money. You will say, okay, I can give you the property tomorrow if you give me this amount of money. And then you bypass all the legal processes like appointing an attorney and going through the transfer process of the conveyances. So you pay this amount of money and the person runs away with your money, or you find that even the property that you are interested to buy that is not even owned by the seller. There's a long legal process of maybe there was someone who deceased and they left it to a brother and a brother now. Those those issues. So it's important that you do your proper research, especially looking at ownership, who owns it, and also if it's an agent, it must be a reputable agent and that is registered, because there are a lot of fly-by-night agencies that take chances, and you pay your money and you think that you own a property, whereas it was just a deal that didn't exist. So yeah.
Sure. No, 100%, man. I'm happy that you actually raised those points, because even with us, that's actually number one. That's actually point number one when it comes to making sure that do we have an approved plan? Because when a property investor comes through and they're asking for those documents, they are buying what's on paper. So if you do not have anything on paper, then the question is, what am I buying? I see that you have 22 rooms, but where is it on paper? So I'm actually happy that you actually raised that and you put that out. So I'd like to actually understand something, which was point number 2, right? With regards to the demand in townships, how would you actually describe that?
Oh, in terms of demand, in terms of rental, there's quite a number of people that are looking to stay in the township, because life is expensive, yeah, in the suburbs. Well, if you're for a family and you want a 3-bedroom house, so you need to be prepared to be paying about 15,000 rands of rent. So, but in a township, you can get a decent house for 5,000 rands. So people are now looking to save because life is quite expensive in our days. So there is a huge demand, and as well, I've seen not only in rentals as well, but also the market of people buying. I mean, you find a property in Property 24 today, it was up for sale. Then 2 days after you call, there's an offer on the table. So there is that demand also for property investors to invest in the area.
Sure. So, Cacisa, can I just a follow up right on that one before we actually close a tab on that one, right? I saw something during COVID, right? Especially with the impact towards rental in townships versus in suburbs. So I want to actually understand what happened in Cape Town in your perspective, based on especially the rental that the landlords were actually asking. Did COVID have an impact towards the township in the township market versus what impact did COVID have towards the rental income from township if we're comparing township and suburbs in Cape Town?
Okay. There was a minimum rent impact in the township areas. I remember seeing an article in, I think it's News 24, that actually rental properties in the township has there was an increase. There was a slight increase in terms of demand, and people were not so much affected by vacancy rate when it comes to rentals. So I think because people were like, okay, a lot of people that were retrenched and realized, okay, I can't afford now to stay in the suburb area. The best is to look for a house or an apartment in the township area. So there was a huge demand, and there was no much impact because I think I posted one of the tweets in my page about it. People were having a discussion to say that it's good to invest in the township area. People saying during the COVID, investor during the COVID, I didn't have any vacancies in terms of rental rate. So for suburbs, people were living, and others were not only just because they were retrenched, but they said, okay, because I can work from home, so rather let me cancel my lease and go home and work from home. So yeah, the demand. I think that's what actually affected or impacted the rise of people
Of
deciding
course.
to rent in the townships.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you because now I think as property investors, what we need to do before we purchase a property is to understand our target market. So the bulk of the people will be between the lower class and the middle class, right? So if you do want to get properties that sell very fast and properties that you don't really suffer in terms of getting people to move into your property, your best bet will be in the township because that's more affordable to a lot of people. And I'm not saying that there is no money in the suburbs, but I'm saying that the chances of you becoming vacant for 3 months in a township is really lower than if you're looking at someone that owns an apartment in an exquisite place. That the chances of you actually going without a tenant in your property there, that is actually higher. But at the end of the day, it's more about the due diligence that you do as an investor, that what research did you do about that particular township, right? So now, going back to the research part, right? How do you actually do that research that is this the township that I should actually be investing in?
Oh, okay. One of the things you need to look at the crime stats of that area. You need to visit the police station and just have a conversation with the officers and just to understand the activities in the area, the incidents that have happened in the past maybe week or month, so that you understand and get an idea of the crime within the area. I think number one. And number two, talk with the locals, talk with the locals. If there's a property that you've seen in that particular area, speak to the neighbors, talk to the locals and say, okay, tell me this area, are you happy staying here? Have you had any incidents where maybe you're marked and so forth? So it's all township. That's how it works. You need to speak with the locals. And they are very friendly people. And as well as also what I've done is look at Property 24 and see that for a property that was advertised in this area, how long did it take for it to be sold? It can give you an idea to, okay, there is a demand in this area, or why it's taking long for properties to be sold in this particular area. So, and another thing about Part 24, it gives you the stats of the properties were sold in the particular period. So it gives you that an idea of how the performance in terms of the market for that particular area. So that's the research I think that is easily available for people. And lastly is the agents as well. You know, the agencies in the area. You have a conversation about the area, find more information about it, and yeah, and read the newspapers as well.
No, 100%, Sister Chris. I mean, I like what you mentioned in terms of having a talk with them. I think talking with the locals, right? For me, what 2 points that I'd really like to put out there is the water situation and also the electricity situation. Because in some areas, especially in townships, you find out that they do not have electricity for about 3 weeks in a month. So you, before you even invest in that, you'd actually like to understand what is the electricity situation. And there was even this other township, I remember this other area in a township whereby they have a sewage problem. So there's a smell actually that lasts for days. So that's something that you'd actually even like to ask, and that information you will get from the people around.
I think again before we wrap up the interview, I think also it's important that when you invest in the township, um, get access to the local plans of the area, like your municipality. The municipalities, they do invest a lot in the townships. Like they've got various programs, and and that information can be accessed in the IDP. Of the municipality. So you visit their website, check what projects are they coming. Like you will have, as I've mentioned earlier, the programs like regenerational programs, fixing the infrastructure, you know, upgrading of a certain area. That pushes up the value of properties. So it's important to know, okay, what development is it coming here? Okay, so in this particular street, they are planning to beautify the landscape. So which will make the place looks nice and attractive. So it's a good place that for me to buy because that means infrastructure is going to be improved. Yes. Okay. Lastly, from my side, I always tell people, and when you enter into property, you need to know why you want to be a property investor. Don't follow the crowd. Don't follow people do, and then say, okay, this is gonna suit me. So you need to check what investment you want to invest into, and what can suit you in terms of your budget, and also check in terms of how far you go, and like in terms of how many properties you want to invest. Set yourself goals. You know, you just set yourself goals to say, okay, in the next 5 years, this is how much properties I want to have, and how do I get into that? What are the goals? How are you going to attain those goals? For me, I always set goals to say, okay, within the 5 years, I want at least to have a portfolio of properties. So I need to then to have a strategy of how I'm going to attain those. So have your own strategy in place, and that strategy, it needs to suit your needs, and how are you going to get there? And yeah, it's investing in township. There's nothing wrong investing in township, but you need to put ducks in the row. You need to have how you're going to mitigate your risks, because there are risks involved. Crime, as you've said, structure, and all other risks that are associated with property township. But the you're going to mitigate those, and making sure that you yield your fruits at the end of the day. So yeah, it's property is very good investment. I must say it's a very good investment to leave a legacy for your children itself as well. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there unless I left something out.
Okay. No, that's awesome. It was really fun actually speaking to you, learning more about property investing, and actually expanding your mindset. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that can actually separate you from one person to another, especially in the property industry. The more information you get, the faster your growth will actually be. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and it was really awesome
Yes.
having you.
That's like a
Thank you so much, guys, for inviting me.
Thank
And I think just lastly, sorry, I said last, but this is the last. The programs, the other funding institutions that fund properties in the township, like your TEF, Mastandi, your IBROP. There's quite a lot of those fundings that are available for people to buy property and to develop in the township. You just have to find those and you start moving into the investment part of property in the township.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, and till next week. Cheers.